Hey everyone, welcome back to Was Capital. Time for a quick video overview of an article I published recently. If you'd like to read in full or listen to the podcast, the link to Substack's in the description below. Have you ever actually sat down and calculated exactly how much you're worth? Strictly in financial terms, not philosophically speaking, a number that accurately reflects your real wealth. Most of us carry a rough figure in our heads. It's usually a comforting one, the kind that makes us feel like we're making genuine, measurable progress through life, like our trajectory is pointing in the right direction. But what if that number's lying to you? Today, we're going to calmly rethink how we measure true financial progress. We'll step away from the comfortable assumptions and look at a more honest calculation, one that most people actively avoid because the result tends to be less flattering. It starts with a scenario almost everyone will recognise. You buy a house, a few years pass, the market value rises, you feel wealthier. There's that warm, familiar sense that things are moving in the right direction. That feeling is completely understandable. And as we're going to explore, it's largely an illusion. You'll recognise this from my body of work if you're already familiar. It's part of the wealth illusion. And to unpack it properly, we need to hold two very different numbers in our heads at the same time. Two numbers that measure fundamentally different things, even though most people treat them as the same. The first is headline net worth. This is the comfortable number, the one most people track, reference in conversation, and generally use as their benchmark for financial progress. It tends to feel good. The second is financial net worth. This is the more honest number, the one that tells you what your money's actually doing, whether it's working, growing, compounding, or whether you're simply standing still and calling it progress. One's a vanity metric, the other's a reality check. They're not interchangeable, and the habit of treating them as though they are, that's precisely where the illusion begins to bite. Before we go any further, I'd like to take a moment for a brief note on this content and where it sits within my catalogue. This explainer is part of the Escape the Wealth Illusion series, but in a new content stream I've been developing alongside the longer form work. I'm calling it WAS Briefs. The longer analytical pieces, like the deep dives, the extended frameworks, and the market analysis, remain the core of what I publish, but not every idea warrants that treatment. Some concepts are genuinely better served by a focused, tighter format. One clear idea, properly examined, without the density of a full article or video. WAS Briefs is that format. It's bite-size, but analytical, shorter, but not thin on content. The piece underpinning this video on financial net worth versus headline net worth is one of those. If you'd like to read or listen in full, the link's below in the description. Now, back to the two numbers. Headline net worth is the calculation most people default to, and it's straightforward enough. You add up everything you own and you subtract everything you owe. Property value, car, savings, pension, going in on the asset side, mortgage, credit cards, loans, coming off the other, everything into the blender, and out comes a number. The maths, it should be said, is entirely sound. The figure's accurate as far as it goes. The problem is what that accuracy is concealing, because in most cases the single largest contributor to that headline number is the family home, and when your home dominates the figure, it masks your actual liquidity, your functional, deployable wealth. It bundles an illiquid, immovable asset in with your financial position and presents them as a single coherent whole. The number feels reassuring, sure, but it's telling you something quite different to what you think it's telling you. Financial net worth applies a more disciplined filter. The calculation: take your investable financial assets, your savings, your ISA, your pension, and any brokerage accounts, for example, and subtract your non-mortgage consumer debt. That's the complete methodology. Nothing more complicated than that. What remains is the only figure that tells you, with any genuine honesty, whether your money's actually working for you, or whether you're treading water. Consider the mechanics of what your home can and can't do. You live in it, so you can't spend it. You can't draw income from it without either borrowing against it or selling it outright. And if you sell, you still need somewhere to live. The net position after any transaction is rarely as clean as it looks on paper. For most people, the family home is simultaneously their largest asset and their least liquid one. That combination isn't a wealth engine, it's a store of value with significant running costs attached. The critical distinction in this is compounding. Financial assets, properly allocated, work silently in the background. They can be repositioned, deployed, drawn upon in an emergency, and over time they generate returns that build on themselves. The historical long-run return from a diversified global equity portfolio sits somewhere in the region of 7 to 10% annually in nominal terms. That's not a guarantee, but it is a long-run empirical observation. Residential property, when you apply the same rigour, accounting properly for maintenance, financing costs, transaction taxes, agency fees, and inflation, delivers considerably more modest real returns than we tend to assume. The headline appreciation looks compelling, but the net position, after costs, is generally rather less so, which is why the point bears stating plainly: you're most likely not getting rich from house price appreciation. You're treading water, just with better carpets. It's an amusing way to frame it, but it hits the nail on the head. The gains found in your primary residence simply aren't as realisable as they look on paper. Wealth that you can't practically access is not wealth in any practical sense. To be entirely clear, this isn't an argument against home ownership. There are sound, rational reasons to own the place you live. Stability is a significant one, particularly for families. A mortgage functions as a forced saving mechanism, which has genuine behavioural value for most people, and outright ownership provides long-term insulation from rent increases and the instability that comes with the rental market. These are legitimate considerations, and they shouldn't be dismissed. The issue is strictly one of classification. Owning a home and building investable wealth are two entirely separate activities, serving two entirely separate purposes in a financial life. Conflating the two, treating property appreciation as though it's the same as accumulating deployable financial assets, that's the category error. Your home's a lifestyle asset. A financial asset is something different entirely, and the inability to distinguish clearly between those two things is, in many cases, what produces the illusion in the first place. Why does this distinction matter so much? Because the wealth illusion doesn't just feel misleading, it creates a genuinely dangerous financial position. It's entirely possible to be sitting on a significantly appreciated property while simultaneously carrying a negative financial net worth. Rising house prices signal progress. The underlying position, consumer debt exceeding investable assets, tells a very different story. The antidote's simple, if uncomfortable. Track your financial net worth separately from your headline figure. Calculate it regularly. Quarterly is more than sufficient. Watch the trajectory. If it isn't growing, understand why and adjust. Most people don't do this because the honest number tends to be considerably less flattering than the comfortable one. But that discomfort's the point. It's the signal. The question worth sitting with quietly after this: are you actually building wealth, or are you simply living in it? If you found this video useful, think about checking out the article on Substack. And if you like what I do, subscribe here and on Substack, and follow my socials to stay updated with new content. Thanks, as always, for your support. Until next time, stay safe out there. Was.